Good morning. We're here to announce the unsealing of an indictment against DeAndre Green, age 19, of Islandia, who is a member of the Bloods street gang, for attempted murder for allegedly shooting a man inside an IHOP restaurant in Lake Ronkonkoma on March 4th. He is charged with attempted murder in the second degree, a violent B felony, assault in the first degree, also a B violent felony, criminal use of a firearm in the first degree, a B violent felony, 2 counts of criminal possession of a weapon in the second degree, a C violent felony, and reckless endangerment in the first degree, a D felony. The events that unfolded on March 4th began at approximately 1:15 p.m. when Green and an associate entered the IHOP. They were seated near a booth that was occupied by Tyreek Corbin, age 20, of Amityville, his brother, and one of his friends. There were approximately 23 additional patrons in the restaurant during the incident, and this includes an infant in a high chair in close proximity to where the shooting eventually occurred. A short while later, after they entered, Corbin exited the booth and walked past Green on his way out of the restaurant. He allegedly made a derogatory comment toward Green, at which point Green took out a .40 caliber Glock pistol and shot 5 times in the direction of Corbin, striking him once. As Assistant District Attorney Melissa Turk noted in court, for this defendant to fire 5 rounds in a crowded restaurant with an infant nearby is nothing but depraved. He evinced a clear intent to kill the victim and showed absolutely no regard for the safety of any of the other patrons. We can see on the surveillance video exactly what happens here. This is not a whodunit or what happened precisely in this situation. We know exactly what happened. The minute the victim crosses his path, he takes out his firearm and violently shoots the firearm 5 times. The victim struck once. The victim is pushed back into that infant that I referenced. You'll see on the video that the infant's forehead almost crashes onto the table. You can see the family sitting in that booth. Imagine for a moment being that family. You're eating pancakes one moment, gunfire erupts, and your infant is essentially trampled by an individual. The family there did what most of us would do. The mother grabbed the infant and attempted to protect the child. It is only because of the grace of God that no one else was struck or killed. This may have been a targeted act of violence, and indeed it was, but it put the lives of so many other people at risk. The victim was transported to Stony Brook University Hospital, where he underwent surgery for the gunshot wound and will survive his injuries. While the patrons were fleeing the restaurant, trying to get to safety, and the defendant himself was fleeing, our first responders in the Suffolk County Police Department responded. They responded in force, and they responded quickly. If not for that rapid response, perhaps the defendant would not be in custody. I'd like to commend the police department for their incredibly swift and sweeping response to this incident. In fact, I was in my car when it was occurring, and it came over the radio. It came over as an active shooter, because that's essentially what it was. The professionalism of the dispatchers, the professionalism of the responding officers, was truly impressive. The heroism showed what we always see with our first responders. Something bad is happening, something dangerous is happening, people are running away from it naturally, as they should, but the police are running towards it. Because of that outstanding response, Green was apprehended by police at approximately 1:38 p.m., just 15 minutes after the shooting occurred. Suffolk County Police K-9 section officers also responded to the scene and recovered the weapon, which was in a wooded lot located nearby the IHOP. ADA Melissa Turk just finished arraigning the defendant. But our work doesn't stop here. And our work doesn't stop with this particular case. As I mentioned, this individual is a gang member. We are focused on investigating and prosecuting violent street gangs, whether it's MS-13, the Bloods, or some other gang. And we are working tirelessly with all of our law enforcement partners, locally, at the state level, and at the federal level, to ensure that we disrupt this cycle of violence and take violent gang members off of our streets. This is a case where we'll do exactly that. As ADA Turk noted, he faces a maximum sentence of 30 years, 25 on the attempted murder, plus a possibly consecutive sentence of 5 years for the criminal use of a firearm. This is a serious case. We'll treat it as such. And I want to thank the outstanding work of the Enhanced Prosecution Bureau, who's handling the case, particularly ADA Turk, as well as ADA Jen Melito from our Major Crimes Bureau, who initially caught this case and did some outstanding preliminary work to get us where we are today. And with that, I'll take any questions. Yes.
Defense says that Mr. Corbin, when he walked past the defendant, had a gun, and that he basically reacted out of a fear for his own life, and he's saying he acted in self-defense. Do you want to address that?
There appears to be no legitimate self-defense claim here. In fact, as we heard during the court proceeding, the defense counsel made mention made an allegation that the victim had hit the defendant in the head with a bottle the night prior. I'm not suggesting that that's accurate, but to the extent it is, that obviously is not a legitimate justification defense, and there's no evidence that there was any self-defense here. In fact, according to the defendant's own admission, that's not what happened. What happened was that the victim walked by the table and made a derogatory comment, which was stated in court, and that's what prompted the shooting.
Do you know if the complaining witness had a gun?
No gun was recovered from the complaining witness.
Do you believe he's a gang member?
I'm not going to comment on the gang status of the victim or any of the associates that were present at the scene. Obviously I did state that the defendant is a confirmed Bloods gang member, and I'll leave it at that for now.
The reason I asked is because police made it appear that this was an intra-gang dispute. Can you confirm that?
I don't want to talk too specifically about that. This is definitely gang-related. The defendant is a Bloods gang member, and other than that, I'll just say we're working diligently with all of our law enforcement partners to disrupt any existing cycle of violence, and we will hold all those accountable who have committed acts of violence.
So was it just a coincidence that the two of them were in the restaurant at the same time following the quarrel the night before?
Well, again, I'm not confirming whether or not it's accurate that the victim hit the defendant with a bottle the night prior, and regarding why they were there together at the same time, I'm not going to speculate.
Can you spell Tyreek's first name?
Sure. It's T. I thought I could. Hold on.
And also, she's church name?
Tyriek.
Tyri. And,
Tyriek.
I.E. There was a mention of a person that Mr. Green walked in to the restaurant with. Who was that?
I don't think we confirmed that on the public record, so I'm not going to comment at this time.
I thought I heard a name.
Did we? Okay, I apologize. What is it?
Question on Kenny.
Oh, that's Mr. Kenny. Yes.
Who is,
Yeah.
what was, did he have a role in this, or was he?
At this point, we're not going to comment much as to the role of anyone else or the relationships. I've made it very clear that this is part of an ongoing investigation. We are confirming this is gang-related, that the defendant is a gang member, and as you all know, this was not the only act of violence that day, and we are investigating all of it, and we'll take all appropriate steps.
I was just gonna ask, do you believe those other shooting incidents are connected to this?
I mean, certainly, that's part of the investigation.
And Green is in the IHOP for how long? I know you said at 1:15. I believe you said that the victim entered the IHOP. Can you just give
I-
me the times of how long?
Well, I think the shooting occurred approximately 1:15, correct?
It was about 5 minutes. They were-
5 minutes prior.
So Green the victim walks in 5 minutes before he was shot.
Is that accurate? Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And we'll get Andrew the spelling on the first name of Kenny.